Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Reva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha Shri Radhaya Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Bhagavad Gita Contemplative Talks. This is Sachin Karnik. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan, Ishvara Tattva, Parameshwara Tattva residing in the heart of every being at all times and all places. And to all the great sages present on the planet today, yet to come and who have come in the past. I am actually at a state park, at a county park in fact. It's a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, Monday afternoon, Somavar, and wanted to spend some time here and do the third part of chapter 15, verse number 1 in this place. It's a very beautiful place. I'm sitting on a nice green colored bench. There are two wonderful trees that are giving nice shade. There's a small road here and there's cars going back and forth, so you can probably hear them in the background. I wanted to select a place where there was both natural experience and artificially created, both. Because that's the world we live in. To really grasp the glory of the Bhagavad Gita in general, chapter 15 in particular, has to do with the total embrace of all experience. If I was normally sitting here, I would not have selected this place to do this recording with all these cars going back and forth. But that is very much part of nature at this point. We created these cars, we created all kinds of artificial buildings and whatnot, and we have to be able to live in it without being reactive, without being escapist. So that is why you will hear these cars in the background. I hope they're not bothering you. But that's part of life, right? I'm actually looking at a very beautiful golf course. There's some people walking by also, and generally, as I stated, my natural tendency would have been to stay away from this road. But that's not the spirit of the Gita. The spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is not to escape from our life. It's not to escape from any situation, even though we may deliberately choose to be in certain environments, and that's natural and that's understandable for some purpose, no doubt. But is it possible, as I hear these vehicles go back and forth, to contemplate on the most profound ideas of chapter 1, verse 1, without any distraction, without any notes, without any rejection of the totality of the experience? Yes, no doubt, I have chosen to sit in a shade. There's cool wind blowing. The sun is extremely bright and beautifully bright, but it's not too hot. So it is a deliberate choice. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of free will. And this is one of the most interesting ideas in the Bhagavad Gita overall, and then of course in many other commentaries and scriptures after the Gita, about each human being having the power of decision, having the power of free will. Without will, nothing happens. Without will, there is no experience of any kind. Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of Sri Krishna Paramatma, Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna, and then as a representative for all of us, for all beings in fact, all human beings in human form, that the Gita is for everyone. There's no question about class, creed, race, religion, nothing like that. There's no mention of any religious creed or anything. It is a samvad. Samvad means that Arjuna is a disciple of Sri Krishna in the form of a great enlightened master. And he is teaching him the highest of truths. and removing his delusion, removing his false ideas, false notions, and in turn removing our false notions also as we attempt this contemplative journey. So one of the points which comes to the mind, and I don't have any notes with me here, I don't have any reference materials or anything, it's just the mind, whatever is stored in this mind, the experience going back and forth with these with all these interesting cars, some birds flying over, the skies are very beautiful, very clear, very crisp, clear image, of the natural world is in front of me. And that is what we have in life. We need contemplative spaces, but we cannot reject the world. And this is one of the most significant points to grasp in the very first verse of chapter 15, when Bhagavan Krishna says, Urdhva Mulam Adhashakam Ashvatham Prahuravdyayam Chandansi Yasya Paranani Yastam Vedasa Vedavit. Vedavit, be a full knower of the entire ontological reality. There's no rejection. There is realization, not rejection. There is awakening, not escape. There is opening one's divine eyes. Now see, I hear even an ambulance in the background there. See, this is all part of the mix of human society. You can probably hear it now. I think they're coming down the road. Is this all not part of the divine play? Leela. Well, maybe the police officer just had his lights on because he wanted to overtake someone. I don't know. Well, he's got it on again. Whatever it might be, right? We don't know. See, I'm also making a judgment here. It's interesting, right? We don't know. I don't see any issue why the lights are on. It looks like there must be something. It's actually an ambulance. I hear. Give you a chance to listen to it. See, this is all part of the Urdhva Moolam Adhashakam. This is Adhashakam. This entire material experience is Adhashakam. You just heard the ambulance go by. I wish well for whoever may have been injured there. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata. See, this is how Gita is applied. Gita application is not just in temples or in isolated places, or like in my case, sitting in front of a computer or sitting in just in my meditation room. It's everywhere. Where is it not? Where is it not? Urdhva Moolam Adhashakam Ashvatham. Ashvatham is that upside down tree analogy. And the word also means that which doesn't even last until tomorrow. Everything is moving and fluctuating. This is actually a beautiful exercise, even in my case particularly, seeing all these cars go by. It's a great reminder of the transitoriness of life. And in fact, it is itself transitoriness. Maybe 100 vehicles have gone by so far. I don't know personally anybody in these vehicles. Wish well for them all. Is God existing in them all? Yes. Is it temporary? Yes. Is it an experience that I'm having in the waking state? Yes. Is Bhagavan Krishna in the form of these vehicles and the people driving in them and the trees and the sun and the clouds and the moon and yes. Of course. That is the whole point of this verse. Yastam Vedasa Vedavit. To change one's vision or to open one's vision to perceive the fullness of experience, to embrace the fullness of experience without ever losing sight of the root of the experience. So many people come and go, walk by, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different backgrounds. So much is there. Is there any raga dvesha? Is there any sense of me and mine? This is practical Gita. Sachin here right now, practical Gita. Gita in fact is 100% practical, it's 100% real. It's not about some fabricated, hypothetical ideas or some transcendental world that is imaginary. It's not about that. Although there are transcendental worlds, we're going to talk about that later. But we must be able to embrace the fullness of our experience and cherish its diversity without raga and dvesha, raga meaning attraction and repulsion, without biases, without getting pulled, without the mind and energies and feelings and thoughts getting pulled continuously back and forth into likes and dislikes. That is why, at least in the United States, there's a big blessing, I'm sure in other countries also. There are so many parks. Parks are a great avenue for meditation. Of course, you don't have to go to a park. It could be anywhere. But nonetheless, we need to be in nature because this is where the Vedic tradition began. Yastam Vedas Avedavit. It begins in nature because we are part and parcel of Prakriti, of nature. So we must be in nature. In fact, we are always in nature, but the artificiality we have created seems to put us in different, like a human created world. That's fine. I mean, that is beautiful. But we also must not lose sight of the natural world as it is. Now, even this natural world that I'm sitting in is not really as it is. I mean, it is in one sense, but it's been trimmed and grass has been trimmed and there's a walkway and there's a lot of human intervention to make it look the way it is right now, look and feel. Yes, no doubt. But nonetheless, trees are natural, sun is natural, air is natural. The importance of having a broad vision. This is another just a relevant point here. And again, these recordings are for the whole world as a seva, not as Sachin trying to tell anybody anything. But there is need for every human being to have just vision through our eyes, to seeing vistas, big vistas, grand vistas. We need that depth of vision. Otherwise our mind doesn't expand. We cannot be stuck just in city blocks or just in our neighborhood no. I mean, if we are, whatever we are, there's no doubt about that. Most people are now these days plugged into their phones and TVs and that. I mean, that has its place also. But there's no doubt. The being in a very comfortable, beautiful, natural environment is highly meditative, highly reflective. And it is necessary. It is necessary for human beings, all human beings. I've heard of situations and stories where children have not seen big parks, or they have not seen even mountains or oceans or any such thing. It's a real tragedy in life. So the significance of nature, because there's air pollution, noise pollution, traffic pollution, humans are overcrowding. We need time for ourselves without too much clutter. Ekaki yatachita atma aparigraha. Bhagwan Krishna himself says this. Spend time by yourself. Leave everything alone. Aloneness. It's a very great endeavor. We don't know, we have lost that touch of how to be alone, how to be just with ourselves. Atman nevatmanaha tushtaha. Sita pragnasthadochete, chapter 2. To discover that inner extraordinary satisfaction in the self, through the joy of the self. That is not ego. That is the discovery of the Atman itself. So when Bhagwan Krishna says Urdhva Mula Madashakham, he is placing an invitation to discover the root, to connect with that source from which all existence springs. What a beautiful invitation that is. That invitation has beauty within it. And this verse is about the Vedas. In one sense, part of it is about the Vedas. The Vedic mantras are transcendental, but they are the bridge between the original infinite source Brahman or Shri Purushottama Bhagavan and the entire infinite material creation. They are the bridge. Trigunya Vishaya Veda. They are within, and in fact they are within the realm, their subject is of the three gunas of Maya, sattva, rajas, tamas. And they are responsible for the sustenance and creation of the entire material world for infinite number of the monadical jivatma. Jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtan indriyani prakriti sthani karshiti. This verse comes later on in chapter 15. How many jiva are there? Jiva meaning soul. S-O-U-L. Soul, here again we're using an English word. It refers to that spiritual fragmental part, spark of the divine spark that we are. That is a discovery. Again, it's a matter of realization. It's not just a matter of belief. It's a matter of realization. And Bhagavad Gita is all about realization. It is not so much about just belief systems. Belief systems have come about after the Gita. They were there before the Gita. But belief systems, whatever their nature may be, if they are genuine, then they could be, or they usually can be, if one goes in those systems, as a doorway into that Urdhva Moolam. Adhishakam, so the Adhishakam is where the endless number of belief systems are there. Endless number of belief systems. Bahushaka hanantascha buddhayo vivasayinam. Endless number. I just noticed it. I'm looking in this park actually. There's actually an electrical grid here. See, it's just amazing things which we don't notice. It's just a reminder of how the source is one. Just like the electricity generating station is one. It's just one. But it spans out. The electricity goes in thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of different places through these transmitter lines. The Vedas are like these transmitter lines. We've seen electric transmission stations and electric lines. There's quite a few. I didn't realize how many there were actually. I never paid attention to it, We're just walking and not paying attention to what's actually around us. Now there's an airplane flying above also. I think it's probably landing in Philadelphia, it looks like. Seeing from its height. Yeah, amazing, right? What lesson is there in this? The height of the airplane and all. It is showing us that we can develop technology to break the gravity, and that's what this Urdhva Moolam is all about. The gravity of Maya can be broken. Devi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya Mam Evaye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. When our mind, our senses, our buddhi, our intellect enters into divine consciousness, divine contemplation, enters into extraordinary devotion, enters into the swarup of God, into the form of God, into the extraordinary reliance, ashraya, on Bhagavan, on God. When all of that comes together, Maya and its limitations are no longer going to affect, even though they exist. Just like the airplane that I just saw, now I can't even see it anymore. So it's amazing how fast it goes by. Just as the airplane is not affected by gravity. I mean, it is in one sense, but it has become free of gravity. And because of that, it can fly tremendous distances. Similarly, the yogi, the bhakta, when the height of meditation is reached, the height of bhava, bhav meaning emotion that has reached the highest stage of purification, that is called bhav, that is called sadbhav. Bhava is emotion that is brimming with truth. It is not emotion that is fluctuating within the dynamics of the polarity of the world. You can hear all these cars go by. But that's alright. That's all part of the divine play. That's all perfectly okay. I'm telling myself this thing. I'm seeing if there's any disturbance inside of me. And there is none at all. Thanks to the Gita, thanks to all the gurus, that in the ordinary sense, all these cars going by would be seen as a disturbance. The sound itself would be a disturbance. My ego would be involved in it, saying that I want to make a recording and real nice, natural setting without any disturbance. But that would not be true to the spirit of the Gita. I mean, it could be. It's not that it won't be. But it might be more true just to my own sense of me, which I could have missed or not recognized. So just one of these things, points of awareness, nothing other than that. Having a sound-free or just purely natural birds chirping and recording made like that is, probably more favorable to all of us. But the total embrace of what is happening within the realm of Maya is going to allow us to learn the art of continuous, uninterrupted freedom that is called Swatantrata. Swatantra. There are two Sanskrit words here. Swatantra versus Paratantra. Paratantra means dependency. I am happy if these 10 things happen in this way, at this time, with these people around me, then only I am happy. All conditions upon conditions. This is called Swatantra. It is called Paratantra. Swatantra is where there is independent. There's independence. There's natural independence irrespective of circumstance. That is Swatantra. So Urdhva Moolam, when our vision has entered into the source and is able to see beyond the other Shakham, the downward material expansions, which even though we see them, we can see beyond it, see through it, embrace it and see through it. There are quite a few verses in the Gita that talk about this. We'll be looking at them in the future sometime. But let the natural flow continue. It's quite amazing. It's actually very interesting because there's quite a few number of trees here. And wasn't really planning on coming here, but somehow it just came here today. Divine will. So much to learn, so much to observe, so much to grow. We have so much inward growth that remains. Can we see this world of diversity in the light of the Urdhva Moolam? Urdhva Moolam is the root. See, when we see a tree, just an ordinary tree, right? Any tree. I'm looking at so many trees right now. I cannot see the root. I know there's a root, but the root is underground. All the roots are underground. There's not a single tree here where the roots are on top. I can see the branches, I can see the trunks. Yes, some trees are very big, some of them are smaller. But there's not one single tree here. And there are probably several hundred that are in my viewpoint right now. Quite a few. Not a single one, not a single tree's root is perceived by me. Nonetheless, there's two trees next to me, one on the left, one on the right. But that doesn't mean that the roots don't exist. They do exist. Obviously, without those roots, there is no tree. And once you dig, once a botanist or just any human being begins to dig, you find the roots. It's very simple, right? Well, we have to dig. What is that digging? This is an analogy. That is yoga. All 18 chapters of the Gita are yoga. This is Purushottam Yoga we're looking at, to discover and to get in touch with that Purushottama, that source. Just because Sachin right now cannot see the roots of all of these trees, it would be absolutely foolish for me to say the root doesn't exist. That is why this analogy is given. This analogy is given because people see trees all the time. It's actually quite straightforward. As profound as the Gita actually is, when we look at it academically or through scholarship or through sadhana or through the extraordinary number of enlightened sages that have written commentaries, yes, as extraordinary, as amazing as that is, the first verse here is talking about a tree and roots. And what do we infer from this? We can infer very clearly that the entire material existence has one source, not multiple sources. One source. And that is a matter of walking a path of discovery, of reflection, of going to enlightened beings. And this going to enlightened beings and asking them questions with a tremendous amount of respect is recommended in the Gita. It is in fact required, Tat viddhi pranipatena pari prashnena sevaya. Tad viddhi means if you want to know the root, if you want to know the source, the Purushottama Bhagavan, the Akshara Brahma, that which is this entire ontological structure, tad viddhi pranipatena. Pranipatena means to approach highly evolved masters, gurus, teachers with a tremendous amount of humility and respect. That approach is the absolute foundation for the opening of that doorway into the Purushottama. Many times we go to talk to someone as if we're taking somebody's exam. That is never going to allow us to grow. If Sachin goes in to talk to different teachers, gurus, bhaktas, devotees, with that notion, that I'm the one who knows this and I'm just asking questions to see how much somebody knows in comparison to me. If I'm going like that, not only will I not grow, my ego will grow and I will wind up in rag, dvesha, and I will probably wind up in taking somebody's fault. Just the opposite will happen than what Bhagavan Krishna is saying, teaching. Tat viddhi pranipatena. Pranipatena means with a tremendous amount of bhav, respect. That doesn't mean that you're just giving your mind to somebody. Nowhere does it say that in the Gita. Bhagavad Gita is not about blindly following anyone. Bhagavad Gita is about eventually absorbing the mind in the ultimate truth. But that has to be revealed. Then it will be absorbed. It's not simply following something or someone blindly. No, that's ridiculous. It is about opening the divine vision. Dadami divya chakshu. As the satsanga process continues, contemplative process continues with enlightened sages, with the Gita itself, and the process of bhakti and all other sadhanas, our vision opens. The divine vision opens from inside by grace of Bhagavan, by the grace of God. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, and so the buddhi yoga is given and the divine vision is opened. That buddhi yoga, meaning the intelligence that connects with the supreme root, is granted out of grace to those who are having that prerequisite adhikara, who are ready for that. And divyam dadami te chakshuhu, the granting of the divine vision so that the form of Narayana. You know, the Vishwarup Darshan that comes in the Gita. Bhagavan Krishna opens the Divya Netra, the Dadami. I mean, the Buddhi Yoga is here, but this Divyam Dadami Te Chakshu. Divyam Dadami. I'm the one who's giving, granter. I meaning that Supreme Paramatma. It grants the opening of the divine eyes. But the process begins with Tad Viddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. It's so amazing, you know. We have two people talking to each other, walking by. They're carrying backpacks. That's a real question. Can the Supreme Lord be seen in their form? Two well-built Caucasian fellows are hiking or walking, with some hiking shoes. What do we see? Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. Now two ladies are coming. They are wearing blue shirts there, middle-aged. You know, they are walking with shoes also, talking to each other. Is it possible to see God in them? What does that mean actually? What is that? We're going to get to all that. We'll see. Look at that. But as this is going on right now, in live present moment. You know, we are so accustomed to seeing the cover. But the soul that resides, the Atma Tattva, the Jiva Tattva, that vision that pierces beyond the superficial body-mind complex into the Chaitanyam itself, that is the opening of the divine eyes. That is the opening. It's an actual opening. It's not simply a belief. Yes, we still see the body-mind complex, we still see the nature as it is, but we see it in a completely new light. We see it from the ontological tattva, or as the ontological tattva, the being, the full being of Narayana. We don't just react to the names and forms. We recognize that the names and forms and people and places and sounds and everything, each and everything, is only the dancing of the divine. It's absolutely tremendous. This is where there's no language there. You know, language stops. But nonetheless, we use language. The language is also Brahman. Listening is also pure consciousness. The birds chirping are pure consciousness. The sun shining is pure consciousness. All these vehicles going back and forth, pure consciousness only. It's all grace only. What is Krupa after all? It's actually very straightforward in one sense. Krupa is just grace to see and appreciate life, existence, truth. To acknowledge the presence of another being. You know, when we're sitting in a park, we can just do a small wave to another person. We don't know who that person waves back. What is it that we're acknowledging? What is it that we're seeing? We don't know the personality, the person, the background. We are acknowledging the non-dual presence of Brahman. Have you ever thought about that? Have we ever thought about that? That when we wave to another person walking in a park and they wave back, it is only that one consciousness reflecting in itself. This is what Advaita Vedanta would say, and it is so. The Bhaktas would say, and they're all combined together, that this is the Lord waving back. It's not that the person in that sense is the Lord from a more dualistic standpoint, but God's presence is there. To not forget that presence and to stop reacting with likes and dislikes and judgments. We are so pulled by judgment. It is a tragic situation for the human mind. Tragic situation. There's so much beauty only. Saundarya. And see, that Saundarya begins to open with Tad Viddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Even just the desire to know, the desire to learn, the desire to grow, that curiosity, jignasa, as Bhagavan Krishna talks about. That curiosity, that jignasa, that desire, because we have desire, we have curiosity. Tad Viddhi Pranipatena. It all begins with curiosity. Why are we here? Who are we? What am I doing in my life? This life is a temporary phenomenon. Is there another way to live this life as a liberated being, as an evolved being, as one who is no longer stuck inside the utter degradation that human beings have caused for themselves and for the planet? Uddareda atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayed atmaiva yatmano bandhur atmaiva ripur atmanaha. We are the cause of our own terrible damage. This is why to approach extraordinary beings, now we can do that now in many ways. Personally is very good, if that is possible. You can do it through Zoom, you can do it if possible. Listen to there's endless number of online forums and programs and videos, and there's no end to it now. What a grace that is, how tremendous. It wasn't like that before the advent of all this technology. But now even people have become saturated to all of that. So watch out for saturation. See, the beautiful birds it's like 15, 20 birds just all gathered together, but they all fly in a pattern. See, how is that possible? Isn't that amazing? Isn't there an intelligence behind that? If we can learn the greatest truths by pure observation of nature. All those birds just flew over in an extraordinarily waving pattern, about 15 of them. Amazing. It is all nothing but the movement of the same Paramatma. Bhagavan Krishna says all the creation exists in me. You know, like the beads all strung together on a string. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just make a couple more points here, then we'll hit pause here and we'll continue tomorrow. The humility with which to approach great souls, devotees, everyone. In fact, at the highest level, everything and everyone is constantly teaching us, blessing us. When Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti, Dharma, they open in the highest level, everyone and everything is Guru. Yes. But nonetheless, there is time for evolution in that. That takes some time. We need to begin with those who are extremely evolved beings, and with great humility, great bhav, to approach them. Tat viddhi pranipatina, and then pariprashnena, ask questions, not to test somebody's intelligence, not to be in a constant comparative modality that I know more, no, be an open mind. try to see what they're saying. There is no greater realization in life than the act of listening. We don't listen. We don't know how to listen to anybody. We're listening to our own noise in our own head. Listen. See, now there's two bicyclists and they're talking to each other. It's very cool, actually. They got helmets, so I think they're like teenagers, yeah. And they got two people with a nice dog here too, so beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. Just pure observation. What else is there in life? And that's the whole point, right? To see every being as a manifestation only of verse 15.1. What greater blessing can there be than that? That's all. It's so beautiful and so simple. And so there is no entanglements. There are no entanglements. There is swatantrata, swatantra bhav. And the dependency in devotion towards God, towards Bhagavan. And at the same time, wishing well for all. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Wish well for every being. Just that intention is divinity flowing through the mind-body complex. Human beings are living so much in the ego construct, just the me, but everything about me, my thoughts, my feelings, my vasanas, my desires, what am I going to eat for lunch and what am I going to eat for dinner, and it's always I, me and my desires. How much do we think about just thinking good for others, wishing well for others? This is one of the central teachings of the Gita. Advaishta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha. Now we have another wonderful man with two fantastic dogs, black colored. My goodness. How old are you, sir? It's amazing. Again, that's an opportunity to remember the Gita shlokas. And of course, just to see the glory of creation. It's not about all the time bringing some philosophical idea in the mind. That's fine if that happens, it's okay, but it doesn't have to be like that way. Just presence only, choiceless awareness. J. Krishnamurti's ideas, those ideas. Pure awareness, just observation, presence. Isn't that a miracle? That in the present moment, right now, Sachin, with this body, with this recorder in hand, is seeing all these people walk by, all these cars, these plants, trees. In one sense, somebody could say, I could also say, this is just what's the big deal in that thing? In another sense, it is the biggest of all deals. So we're already at 43 minutes here. We do need to keep awareness of time. Again, I want to offer my respects to all of you who have taken your valuable time to gracefully listen to these talks. My many respects and pranams to all of you. And with that, Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Shri Radhaye Namaha, Om Namo Narayanaya, Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha.